In a world overflowing with noise, are you truly being heard? Or better yet, are you truly listening? Kenneth Campbell, industry author and expert in sterilization, is back with his latest book, Learn to Listen, So Others Are Willing to Talk. This book isn't just about hearing words, it's about understanding, connecting, and building trust. Whether you're leading a team, navigating relationships, or simply striving for better conversations, these practical strategies will transform the way you communicate. Imagine a world where every conversation leads to deeper connections, resolved conflicts, and greater influence. It's possible when you learn to listen. Are you ready to elevate your communication and create meaningful relationships? Learn to listen, so others are willing to talk. Available now.
Yo, howdy ho, everyone. How are you doing? This is Sharon, and I'm here from the background today. But listen, we're going to talk about SPD stories here on Knowledge or Nonsense. Chimere Curry will be with us. It appears it is a full moon or half of a full moon in SPD world because people are still at facilities and everybody is so, like everyone had really busy and productive days as we do in SPD. So today we're going to talk about SPD stories. What that means is anything. You know, we've had departments flood. Well, you've had, I'm kind of SPD adjacent, but we've had departments flooding. We've had to do so much with so little. We've also, like I've also seen where departments really circle around somebody that is having difficulties within, you know, like off work, but still showing up as the family. I want to thank Anthony Bondin for just showing me even a different side of that, having like paper sack races and stuff, like having events like chapter meetings where there's even things outside of just the education that you get so that there's a bond there. And so I've seen a lot of things within SPD. And the one thing I love are the people in SPD. And so today we're going to talk about stories, different stories, things we've seen that's like, somebody, please, you know, call everybody because this can't be legal. This can't be right. To like, oh my God, I would have never had the relationship I have with you had we not met in the department. And so I'm excited that those conversations are going to go on. Our guests today are Nicole Wally, Lori German. We have one more guest. If she's able, they have some emergency stuff going on. If she's able, she'll join us. If not, the host Chimere will be back on. And you guys, it's just going to be SPD stories. Please let us know your stories as well. So we'll take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll be back. You have to work with other people. And sometimes you don't want to. Sometimes they are in your face. God, I'm talking to myself too. But you still have to work with that person. So you have to lean over the shoulder and see what the result is that you want. You have to be the adult. And you have to let it go, because I can't run a race carrying your bags, my bags, and everybody else's bags.
I'm Dr. Kathy Martin, and I am living proof that with Sharon Combs, Coach Shay, and UCDI leadership, processes, and strategic avenues work.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Look, let me give a special thanks to Sharon. I love that commercial, that ad you just did. It was absolutely awesome. And thank you so much. I was having some technical difficulty, but I am here now, you guys. I am your host, Chimere CeCe Curry, and I am here with Lori German and Nicole Whaley, and we're going to just be talking about SPD stories, right? Every professional in SPD is, if you work in SPD, you have a story, right? Whether it's inspiring, whether it's terrifying, whether it's just outright crazy, we have a story. That is the nature of SPD. So look, I am so happy to have you ladies on the show today. Thank you so much for joining in with us. Lori, you want to go ahead and give us your elevator spiel?
Hi, yes. My name is Lori German. I am the CS Education Quality Education Coordinator at IU North Hospital here in Indianapolis, Indiana. And I am an old head in the business. Um, I've been doing the healthcare sterile processing stuff since I was in diapers probably. It's been over 30, almost 40 years now that I've been in the industry. And um, I've worked at various facilities, and each one has been different, a different type. And I've learned so much on along the way, and still learning, still growing, still developing, still making connections. I also serve as the chapter president for the Central Indiana chapter of HSPA, who just won. I have to brag on us again until the next award is given. But we won a medium chapter of the year last year, so that was a great accomplishment for our team. So anyway, I proudly represent our healthcare professionals here that really, just hit it every day and work hard and do what we do. So.
Absolutely. Nicole, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So my name is Nicole Wally. Currently, I am managing a department in North Central Florida. So I took a permanent position at this facility after spending the last 4 years as a sterile processing traveler. And I've got 8 years experience. I am the vice president of the First Coast Sterile Processing chapter here in Florida. Yeah. And I've also developed a device to be used when inspecting cannulated devices on the clean side called the Barrier Buddy system. And we are getting ready to go live with the product.
Oh my goodness. Look, that is really awesome to have something that you invented. And I'm absolutely, before we get off the show, going to ask you more about it because we are here to learn and promote, right?
Right.
We're going to have some opportunity toward the end to tell us all about it.
Perfect.
Right. Hello, Kenneth. I see you here. And to everyone that is joining in, I appreciate you so much. I know we kind of started with a little bit of intro from Sharon, but of course, as always, I want to give you guys the opportunity to allow some more people to go ahead and join in. Of course, like, subscribe, put your names in the comment box so that we can give you some shout outs, because you already know I'm going to say we love to see it. We love to have you here and supporting us. So before we dive into it, we're going to take a short break to give some more people some time to join in, as well as drop your names in the comment boxes. And look, guys, I'm going to be asking you for your stories. So get ready, start typing. When we come back, we are going to be diving into the stories.
At RST Automation, we develop smart products using advanced technology to improve sterile processing quality and productivity. The amount of time that goes into packaging individual instruments is significant. AIM Peel Pack creates a more accurate and efficient peel pouching process by automating multiple steps and eliminating numerous potential points of error. AIM Peel Pack also enables packaging consistency and staffing flexibility. It reduces technician training time and is easy to use. AIM Peel Pack assists the technician through the full packaging process by utilizing either machine vision, barcoding, or RFID to rapidly identify instruments. Once identified, AIM Peel Pack automatically creates the correct size packaging material, including double peel pouches if needed, and labeling information. With AIM Peel Pack, your department gains advanced AI machine vision technology to provide the highest level of accuracy and efficiency for packaging individual instruments in peel pouches. RST Automation's AIM Peel Pack system reduces the time needed to completely package individual instruments by 50 to 80% when compared with current manual methods. Use AIM Peel Pack at your facility today to increase efficiency, provide staffing flexibility, and improve quality. RST Automation and the AIM Peel Pack, empowering technicians with technology.
Welcome back, you guys, and thank you to our RST partners. I have, again, Lori German and Nicole Whaley here with me, and we're going to be sharing our SPD stories, right? Nicole, look, actually, really, both of you guys, I just want to go all the way back to the beginning, and just kind of talk a little bit about what it was like, just your first interaction with SPD when you first came into the field. I know I have a wild story I'm going to share with you guys, but let's see what you guys have. Like, when you first got into sterile processing, what was that like for you? What was your most memorable moment in that area?
Well, my journey started at a hospital in Sarasota, Florida, and the wild stories didn't really begin for me until I left that facility. And I can still say to this day that that facility was the most organized and compliant facility that I've ever worked at. And that was great. It set a real solid foundation for me and for my career in SPD. But there was a huge culture shock to me once I left that facility and went to my first facility outside of Sarasota. And so my second facility is where I really experienced the culture shock of SPD and had to come to the realization that things aren't done the same way at every facility. And unfortunately, in a profession and job that should have standardized processes, we don't. It's a different way to do the same thing. And unfortunately, we have been expected to do more with less. And so that's causing a lot of, technicians to have to feel like they need to cut corners to get the job done.
Yeah. You know what? That's when you said, let me look, culture shock. That is a huge thing. And I did not, when I think back, way back to when I first started, I didn't even realize what that was until you just said that. And when I think about my transition from the institution that I grew up in, basically in sterile processing, to a bigger place, and it was a huge shocker. And I find myself a lot of times saying, well, that's not how you do it. And that's not how I was taught. And come to find out, sometimes there's more than one way to skin a cat. And a lot of times, and not even a lot of times, hospitals just have the ability to institute policies the way that they fit and their standards of practice. And, as long as it still falls within the guidelines of AME and Joint Commission and those kind of things, then they can put policies in play. But I thought I knew what I knew. Lori, do you have anything for us from way back when you started?
Ooh, that was way back when. Okay. But yes, I kind of can relate and piggyback onto what Nicole said. I started off many, many years ago before everything blew up, if you will. Sterile processing wasn't as everything that we're dealing with still and fighting for today was, I feel like, magnified back then because it was just the Amy guidelines, Joint Commission. I worked in a facility where Joint Commission never stepped foot in sterile processing. Never.
Yes.
It got to the point where I was like hoping and praying that they would, because I felt like nothing would ever change if they didn't. And finally that did happen. But I'm telling you, I worked at that facility for like 25 years prior to 25 years. They never stepped foot in the department. They just asked for like an employee file. And so I was grateful. It was kind of scared too, but grateful that it had changed because we were doing things. We were babies training babies. We didn't understand. There was no one advocating for us to get the education that we needed, all of that. And so anyway, fast forward to like a million years later, and in current state, there are still things that we're fighting for. But to the culture shock thing, I worked in a small like critical access hospital where we supported like 10 ORs total. Like one was like the ambulatory surgery center across the street, and jumped into level 1 trauma. Talk about culture shock. And listen, I was sharing with the ladies prior to the beginning of the show that I was that that superstar, uh, the celebrated hero in the department. Everybody came to everybody. I knew my thing. I could look at the back of my hand and do it in my sleep and that kind of thing, and then come into a whole new world, and it's like woo. But it was great. It was a growth opportunity. I gained a whole bunch of knowledge. I built, my character got stronger.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just, you and just learned you have to adapt and grow in every circumstance. It's not just all the good, wonderful aha moments. Sometimes it's pain. Growth is pain. Remember when we were growing up and, the ankles and the legs hurt when we were getting taller and, all that kind of stuff. It's the same thing in the development of sterile processing. So, yeah.
It is. And so you said a couple of things. Oh, wait. At first, Sharon says, I know a traveler that said 6 plus 2 is the same as 4 plus 4 and 7 plus 1. And she's talking about when I said that there's more than one way to skin a cat.
Absolutely.
One thing that I kind of learned over the years, especially with newcomers to the field, a lot of people sometimes get really overwhelmed when they first come in, because just arriving is like, oh my God, that is just a whole culture shock by itself. And then also when you have that transition, I feel like, especially if you have done everything at your initial institution. So when I came into sterile processing, like you, that was 21 years ago. Maybe it was a really long time ago. And they weren't really as heavy on certification, and everybody in my department had worked in that department for 10, 15, 20, 30 years, and they got training on the job. So when I came into the department, I was the youngest in the department. And at the time, my teacher, because I went to college for it, was the supervisor for the department. So I was, able to get that training. And so when I left, I thought, I know everything. I know it all, because my teacher from my college was also my boss. And I know she taught me the right way, right? So I went into it thinking that I knew everything and found out that I didn't know much.
And I hear you.
This is such a huge world that I realized that I didn't know much, and I still had so much more to learn. So when you talk about building character, oh my God. Talk about tough skin.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. SPD will definitely toughen you up. It will definitely give you that layer of thick skin. Sharon says we can be so arrogant when we come in.
Oh,
Yes.
I agree.
Especially fresh out of school.
Well, when
And
you develop that little bit of confidence, and then you're so sure of yourself.
Mhm.
And I'll tell you, I thought I knew it all too. And as I started traveling, oh boy, I got humbled really quick, you know?
Uh-huh.
So I totally understand that.
Look, I had a new, and this was not too long ago, where I had a new hire come in and tell me their new hire, no experience, training from within, 13 weeks of training, and they got to the end and they're like, I don't need to learn anything else. I know everything I need to know. And I was like, really? Do you? Because I'm still learning and I've been in this thing for 20 years, like, and I'm still learning. So are you sure you have it? But that goes back to what you guys are saying about like the arrogance when you just get out of school and you're like, I know everything I need to know. They taught me in the book. I passed my test.
Yeah.
I'm
I have 4 certifications. I mean, I know that's that's what they come at you with. Yeah.
uh-huh. And you're still like, oh, because I just learned something new yesterday. So
Mhm. Yeah, every facility I would go to, I would learn something new, or I would see an instrument that I'd never seen before. You
yeah,
know, so I mean, you do get humbled really quick.
yes.
The
Yes.
other thing that even so, I specialize in sterile processing, right? I mean, I know it through and through, but it's experiences that humble me. Like, I'll give you one funny one. Kenneth will probably appreciate this. At Scrub Ball this past year, um, he did a trivia contest. And I mean, I was like leading the leaderboard on the sterile processing. I mean, I knew the facts and I could rip them off. He started asking geography questions and other kind of trivia questions. And I was just, okay, I failed. I knew I was going to win, but I did. But it just lets you know you don't know everything. And even though, and I tell, when I onboard new orientees, I tell them all the time, your contribution right now is helping me enrich my life because you're going to tell me something about your experience that you bring into the table that maybe doesn't have anything to do with sterile processing at all. But you're going to help me grow in my knowledge of things as well. So don't ever feel intimidated just because I have the information that you're looking for right now. And then the other thing is because my limited, my information that I have, my knowledge is limited, even though it spans over 40 years, it's still limited to what I have experienced.
Yeah.
Don't just lean on my
Right.
don't let me be your only resource. I know you looking at, you got me up on this pedestal like I know so much. I feel like you, Chimere, I feel like I know a lot, but I don't know enough. I still feel lacking sometimes in my own knowledge. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's humbling. It is.
And you're right, Lori and Nicole. It can be a very humbling experience, especially when you go into it with that air of arrogance. I
Mhm.
tell a lot of people when I have new hires coming in as a leader that this is ever changing, ever growing, and ever learning, and you have to be open to that. And learning is your responsibility. So don't leave it on your leaders, on your educator,
Right.
supervisor. No, it's your job
Right.
to learn and study your craft. Um, when I was a manager, I remember having a conversation with staff because, sometimes staff have that, well, nobody ever taught me. Nobody ever showed me. Nobody ever told
Yep.
me. And so one day I was having one of those conversations and I said, is this your assignment? Well, yes. How many times have you done that assignment in the last 30 days? Well, this many? Okay, so you're waiting for me to tell you how to build this tray. You're waiting for me to tell you to pull this tray when you know that there is a need? No, that is your responsibility. It is not a suitable answer for you to say that you did not reprocess a tray that's needed for a turnover because nobody ever told you to do it.
Hmm.
Not a suitable
Right.
answer. I cannot go to the patient and tell the patient, you know what? The staff couldn't reprocess that because nobody ever told them to do it. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
can't give that answer. You can't give that answer.
Right. Right.
Pull the tray, do the tray.
Right. Right.
Right.
Absolutely.
But it's those kinds of things that the stories as leaders and as educators, they're like, that's your answer? Because nobody ever told you to do it. Meanwhile, you're
Yeah.
just sitting there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, I see. Knowledge and nonsense. Someone says, how did your first conference hit you? Like a ton of bricks? It was the most overwhelming experience that I have ever had. I don't know about you ladies. How did you guys?
My first conference was actually last year in Vegas.
Really?
Yes. And I had been networking on LinkedIn for a good 2 years, 2 solid years. So I had made a lot of connections prior to. So I felt right at home meeting these people in person for the first time. And it was a very exciting experience. And because I was a traveler, I actually had a former coworker from a contract that I did up in Traverse City, Michigan, reach out to me because there was a very motivated new technician in their department, and he applied for a scholarship to go to the conference, and he got it. But he was the only one going by himself, new tech. And so she reached out to me and she said, can I connect you with him? And I said, absolutely. So it was my first conference, and I also got to be a mentor to someone at the conference. Yeah, it was so exciting. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Lori, how about you?
Oh, wow. My first conference was overwhelming. Uh, as you so eloquently put it. Back then, it was my first conference was in 2008, and it was in Reno. And I wasn't very well traveled at all. I hadn't really been many places, and I went all by myself. And I'm like a bit of an introvert. I've come out of that shell a little bit over the years, but back then I just scared of my own shadow, just kind of socially, just quiet, wallflowerish. Anyway, I remember the first day I went to registration, and the first day I remember before I went to the very first general session, I panicked. It wasn't a panic attack, but I panicked, and I went in the bathroom, and I was just thinking about going back to my hotel room and just like, and I went and I can remember standing in the mirror and talking to myself, saying, you are going to get out there, because I'm representing my facility because they did sponsor. I was blessed to have them sponsor me to come out there. And I was there to learn, and I had asked if I could come, because I wanted to, understand it. And I really didn't know much about Isham at the time. But it turned out to be an amazing experience because that is where I learned that we had a chapter, our local chapter, and I met my local chapter at the conference.
There we go.
Yeah, the chapter board members were there, and I got to meet them, and that's how I got started in in HSPA. Now HSPA was Isham back then, So yeah, it changed my life. It opened up my world, and it made me feel like, wow, we were such a small facility, and I had been there for so long that I felt like we weren't doing things, but I was studying and I was trying to bring us up to standards. Like back then I had really fought hard, and I didn't know anything about a business case or anything like that. But I um, partnered with some people and got us to do every load monitoring way back then. And it was a tough sell because it wasn't financially, responsible or whatever, or it didn't make sense to them back then. But but there were facilities that when I got to conference that I was talking to that were larger than us, who would, no, we don't do that. We just do it with implants only and blah, 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 So it just made me feel like, wow, we're all the same. We're all, fighting the same fight. Nobody's better than anybody else. We just, and it expanded my world. It really did.
Things like going to conferences, seminars, SME, those things, I've learned that it gives you a better sense of like community, right? Because sometimes when you're in sterile processing, you can feel like it's its own world. Sterile processing is its own world within the hospital.
Mhm.
You don't know and you don't work in sterile processing, trust me, it is a whole world inside of that department. And sometimes you can feel very shut off, very disconnected from everything else. And it took me going to conferences and seminars and being a subject matter expert to realize, wait. People all around the country are having the same issues that I'm having. We're fighting, like you said, the same battles. They're seeing the same things. They have the same concerns. Like, I have a partner in this, right? Like, if we
Yeah.
just join together,
Yeah.
we can make some serious changes here. But when it comes to conference, that was the thing. Going to conference, my very first time I went to conference was in Nashville. And if you've been to Gaylord, it is huge. And I learned that very first time I went how important it was to network. Prior to that, I had no LinkedIn experience or anything like that. I wasn't using it. But at the moment, I thought it was just important to network while I was in those spaces. So at the conferences, at the seminars, those kind of things. I know better now, but like Nicole said, LinkedIn is a thing. I know that now. But I learned how important it is to network. The amount of education, I was like mind blown with the education that I got there and the people. I always tell people, go to conference. If you don't do anything else, at least once, go to conference. It is awesome. It is an absolute mind blowing, the amount of education, the things you will learn, the people you will connect with, and socialize with the people. Don't just go to get the information, socialize with the people during and after the events. I have made friends that I still know to this day. Oh, sorry, you guys. I have a dog, and she does not want anyone to get close to my dog. It's okay.
Our fur babies.
Yes. So let's kind of just get back to, can you tell me, you guys, about any experiences that you had that you felt like this was a teachable moment, and this is something that I will never forget. Like, I'm going to take this with me everywhere I go.
Teachable moment.
Yes, a memorable moment. Look, I'm going to tell you, while you guys think about that, I'm going to get into my own little story. And this is actually about Joint Commission. And Lori said something about Joint Commission earlier.
Yeah.
So I'm new in SPD. It was somewhere between year 1 and year 5. And to me, that's still new in the age of SPD. And I have no idea why these people thought that I would be a good person to round with Joint Commission when they came. When I found out at the last minute at the moment that they were coming to the department that it was going to be me, I could have died. My heart was beating so fast, and I'm just like, okay, I got it. It's okay. They come to the department. When I tell you guys, they did a tour of just like the entrance of SPD, and I thought I did an awesome job. And I didn't realize that I didn't do anything at all because, like you said, Lori, way back in the day, they were too scared to come into SPD for real. And so where I thought, shoot, I killed it. Like they said I did great. I did awesome. We passed. I didn't do anything at all. And it wasn't until I want to say maybe my third time having a survey that I realized, oh snap. It is much more than them just coming into the vestibule. It is much more than them just looking at the area right here in the front. It is just more of them peeking inside of decontam. There can be so much more, and these people are actually knowledgeable. I hated that for me. It's another one of those moments where it's like you think you know everything, but also it was related to my experience. Like you said, Lori, because I had never experienced them coming into the department and having actual questions, the whole time years are going by and I'm thinking, I got it. I still had it, just for everybody who's watching, and we still passed. But I'm trying to figure out how do I say this on the air. The oh snap moment hits you very hard when you realize that you have someone who is very serious about sterile processing.
Mhm.
So it is so important, you guys, to know your department, know your policies, know your procedures, because if I had not been in all of my policy meetings, if I had not helped create our standards of practice as the manager, etc., I probably would have bombed. I would have bombed so terribly, but because I sat on all of those committees and because I gave it my all in learning my department when I came there, I was able to get through. And then that's when I realized I did do a good job. I do know my stuff.
Well, and I think on that, to piggyback onto what you're saying, the thing about it is, it's you like for me, the first time I had to like walk around with the surveyors, um, I lost my focus. It was almost as if I didn't know what I was doing because I was so ca- uh, caught up in the fear of making sure I had the right answer and knowing, so my mind went somewhere else instead of focusing on what I know and, just kind of being in the moment. And, I learned how to learn from the experience of having to walk around with the surveyors, because even though I told you, initially I was one of them ones. I didn't want them to come in either because I was scared because it's just that was kind of hardwired into all of us. Oh yeah, Joint Commission coming. And it got to the point where I had this, kind of even before I became an official leader. I had to learn how to lead by example in terms of, no, you guys, listen, this we shine or we die. They're gonna come in, they're gonna let us know what we're doing. But sometimes you want to know what you need that fresh look, kind of reframe it, look at it a different way. Because it's like me, I have somebody come to my home and I sit down and I never hardly ever sit on my couch because I'm either at work or I'm, you know, transitioning from work into eating real quick and going to bed. So when I sit down on my couch, I'm horrified when I see a big old cobweb in the and I got company over. But
Uh-huh.
it's just like it's a teachable moment. It's like, girl, you need
Right.
to, look at you need to be aware of your environment, but we need that. We really do, and we have to learn how to get more comfortable with that. And it's hard to do because in our minds, we think we have to be perfect, or I'm really bad about that. Listen, I am the most imperfect, perfectionist minded person that there ever was. I strive for perfection in my mind. I'm trying to, kind of adopt a different mindset, but yet, that's kind of what I feel like I should do. And then knowing that I'm not going to ever be perfect, because I think I'm perfect? No, never. Right. So,
Yeah.
But to your point, it's good that it's because you were so, maybe like had a little fear and, just really trying to impress. We focus on that instead of, just shining and showing them what we know, and being proud. And that's what I kind of try to tell the team. Let's show them sterile processing, let them know, you know, who we are, what we do, because it really is amazing what we do. It just seems like it's not, because it can kind of get kind of explained away in oriented things, or meeting deadlines and that kind of thing. But I mean, it's amazing what we do every
Absolutely.
day. Yeah.
Absolutely. Look, guys, we're going to take a short break and we're going to come back and we're going to keep talking about Joint Commission, because I do have some more information about that. But we are going to take a short break for Be the Change, and we'll be right back. Hello, my name is Chimere Curry, and I am a clinical professional educator and the president for GSPA chapter. I'm accepting the challenge to be the change that I want to see. So here are my goals. 1, expand community outreach within my chapter. And 2, increase participation for my members in that chapter. And then 3, make sure that I do something every single day that benefits and helps someone else along the way. I'm asking that we all be the change that we want to see, and so I'm tagging a few friends. 1, Kyrie Thomas, Latoya Chapman, Densley Koch, Brandon Gant, Anthony Bondin, Jeffrey Boja, Jill Holdsworth, Dr. Ahmed Bagassi, Leela Price, Hugh Hong, and Naomi Arroyo. Be the change that you want to see.
Only thing that's on my mind is who's gonna run this town tonight. Yeah, I say that we are. This is Rock Nation. Pledge your allegiance.
Look, guys, every time we run that video, I am so excited about this cruise that we are doing in October. And if you guys do not know, then I am personally inviting everyone who is watching, everyone who is listening, of course, you wonderful ladies, to participate in our first annual National Cruise Conference and Vendor Fair. So it is open to all. Please come and join us. We're having 6 CEUs. We have vendors. We have a ton of great speakers. It is going to be awesome. And you still get some cruise time.
It's amazing. It's really amazing.
I am so excited. Ew. So, yes, back to the stories though. So look, when it comes to Joint Commission, because we were having some really good discussion there, Nicole, do you have any input for your first survey? Have you gone through your first survey yet?
I'm actually preparing for my first survey at this facility as a manager. So I've gone through survey before as a traveler. Okay. And as a traveler, I always tried to not be, just kind of like incognito, because I really feel like the surveyors need to speak with the permanent staff so they can get a true or a more true view of the knowledge base within the department. And I actually wrote an article for Beyond Clean last year, and it was about an experience that I went through during a survey at a facility where I was a traveler. And, I remember, because we knew we were in our window, and I remember the staff like praying that they would find something so that things would change. So that because they didn't have the support and they didn't have the leadership. And so when the survey happened and then nothing changed, it was a disappointment. But currently, what I'm doing now is working with infection prevention and quality at my facility. And they're coming in and doing monthly tracers. So I started in the middle of December. And what I've done is I'm bridging the gaps between quality, IP, the OR, and just working collaboratively with those outside departments to get my department where it needs to be. Because a lot of those things, like the environment of care, for example, you need to have your EVS coming in and doing their terminal daily cleans, which wasn't happening. And so I was able to I'm a very proactive person. And, healthcare, we're kind of reactive. So I think that is why there is such a status quo mentality, but it's in your approach. And so I'm very relationship oriented. And so building those relationships with the leadership of those outside departments, facilities, plan ops, EVS, quality, infection prevention, these are all outside departments that I have collaborated with over the past few months in my new role to get my department where it needs to be. Having quality and infection prevention doing their tracers and then sharing their findings with not only myself, but then higher level leadership is also a tool for me to be able to say, it's more powerful if I have other professionals in the facility saying that these things are a problem. So having those reports from infection prevention and quality to say, I did mention this, but now can we get a plan going to rectify before survey? And so it's been very helpful. And, one thing that I have noticed in my travels and even at my current facility is that infection prevention and quality, they don't always have the solid foundation and knowledge when it comes to sterile processing. So I'm very welcoming. I'm very positive and open, to educating them. And sometimes when they're doing their tracer, it's also a learning experience for them. When they don't know how to properly ask a question so that they get the right answer, I can then go in and say, okay, well, what they're talking about here is, indicators for sterilization. And so you would want to frame the question like this in order to get the answer that you're looking for. And so I love educating them and I love building those relationships so that we can have a successful survey.
Oh, yes. And that's important. I want to give you kudos in doing that, especially in being, absolutely. Especially in what I still consider is new in the field because we are in such a large field. So I want to give you the kudos for having the understanding to do that. And then I see Jonathan says, it's really important to show your competence. If you don't know you're good, the people observing you will not believe that you are. But don't act like you know everything. You don't, but keep trying to learn it all. You owe it to yourself and the patients. Absolutely. Absolutely. Whenever I go into a new facility, the first thing that I'm trying to do is understand what are our policies, what are our procedures, what are our standards of practice. Now I'm watching and observing to see what is it that we're really doing, because I understand that sometimes that looks a lot different from what our policies say.
So
Right.
this is also helping me too in the, a lot of times SPD departments will have like, this is the way we've always done it mentality. So, when I'm coming in, I can't come in like a wrecking ball and say, this has to change, this has to change. I've got to be really strategic and gentle with my approach. And so having these tracers that I can share with my staff is also helping me to drive the changes that need to be made within the department so that we are more quality focused.
I love it. I want to give you your kudos on that. Good job. I love it. I love it. Look, we have breezed through this time so quickly. I think that we need to do one more commercial, and then when we come back, we're going to tell the people where we can find you. So we will be right back, you guys. Hello, and welcome back. I'm Nicole Whaley and Lori German, and we have been talking just SPD stories and sharing our experiences. A lot of this focus has been kind of in Joint Commission and networking, etc. So I hope you guys got some helpful tips. I do want to ask everybody, if you are #BeTheChange, right, and you want to participate in that challenge, please send me your videos on LinkedIn, Chimere Curry. Send me that on LinkedIn, or you can send it to GSPA. Our chapter will come up and you can send us your videos and we will share them with all of our followers in the world. So we hope that you guys will join us in taking that and making that commitment to be the change that we want to see. Also, before we go, I do want to share with you guys a story because I feel that it's very important to the sterile processing profession as well as our integrity. Years ago, I was the manager at an institution and we were having issues with bioburden, and it drove me insane. It drove me insane because if you don't know, as a leader, that is, you do not want to have your OR call you and find that there's bioburden in your trays, right? You don't want it to be found on the back table. You don't want it to be found, especially after use. And so I had this very big meeting. I called all my staff together and said, look, this is where we are. This is what we're going to do. This is how I'm feeling about it. We need to work on a plan, right? I talked about the importance of them understanding and just kind of connecting to, we don't know what happens when we're not at work. And that could be, something could have happened to your mother. Something could have happened to your child, and they could be in that OR. It could be them on that table. It could be you on that table, because we don't know what life will bring us. In that same week, I had a staff, one of my staff members went to deliver something to the room, and they had a massive heart attack in the room. So they had to, the nurses who were in the room had to stop doing what they were doing to tend for this staff member. And they ended up having to crack his chest, and he ended up having major surgery right there in our OR in the same week that I'm talking about. We are having an issue with bioburden. So I wanted to make sure that I shared this story with you guys, because one of my biggest things that I always tell people is be an advocate for the patient. We talked a little bit about cutting corners. Do not cut the corners. Do the right thing every time, because you never know when it could be you. And in that instance, it was that person. It can happen. So I just wanted to share that story to kind of make sure that you guys stay focused on what our goal is. And our goal is always to have the best outcomes for our patients. All right. Nicole, you told us you invented a product. What is that product again?
It's called the Barrier Buddy System. And so I came up with the idea because one of the issues that I noticed was across the board, no matter where I went, was the challenges that we face when we're inspecting cannulated devices. And so there's that big risk of cross-contamination because depending on what mode of inspection you're using, you might not see it until it's too late. And so it's a very simple product. It's a container to contain the materials produced or potentially produced during the inspection process. That way everything is contained for you to take it back to decon.
And where can people find that?
Well, I'm working on my website, so it's not live yet, but I do have the link. So if you connect with me on LinkedIn or you go to my profile, you'll be able to click the link and it'll take you directly to my website. And the website is www.simonsterilizationsolutions.com.
All right. Miss Lori, right? Miss Lori, where can the people find you?
I am on LinkedIn, yeah, that's pretty much it. That's where I'm at.
Look, so guys, if you have questions, if you want to get with the, say it again, what's the name of it?
The Barrier Buddy System?
The Barrier Buddy System. If you want more information, contact any one of us on LinkedIn. We are there, guys. First name, last name, LinkedIn. And let me tell you guys, I really appreciate you guys for coming today. This was an awesome episode. Thank you to everyone who showed up, who tuned in to support us. I really appreciate you. And we will see you guys all next week, same place, same time. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.